Ladies and gentlemen, the god of YouTube, Levy has just defeated one of the greatest chess players of all time, Magnus Carlsen, in one-on-one game. And in this video, I'm going to review the game for you. I still can't believe I'm saying these words. My hands are still a bit shaky. My heart is elevated to an unhealthy level, watching Levy beat Magnus again. But yet he somehow managed to keep himself composed. Honestly, if I were Levy, I would definitely frame this game somewhere, if I could. So here's the game. Levy was playing black, yet from an anonymous account, and once again Magnus was totally unaware of what the beast he was facing. The game started with e4, c6, Levy's most favorite opening, Caro-Kann, and honestly, I don't judge him. d4, d5, e takes d5, c takes d5, knight f3, knight c6, c3, queen c7. So far, Levy is going to a very, let's say, usual line. Yeah, very standard, very popular. But here Magnus goes with this super creative and super weird at the same approach, c4. The reason c4 is so weird is that white has just lost a tempo right in the opening, have already played c3 in the previous move, and now pushing the same pawn again, trying to lure black into some complicated tactical positions. Something, let's say, expected by white was that black plays bishop g4 and then knight c3, bishop takes f3, queen takes, and then black goes for the pawn on d4, queen d1, e5, knight d5, queen d7. This is some very sharp and concrete lines that black should probably do if they want to objectively equalize, but the problem is black was totally unaware of this line. So black needed to come up with something a bit more, calm and easy to play, and went for knight f6. Knight c3, bishop e6. The idea behind knight f6 and bishop e6 is that such setup already exists if we start with the classical c4 line. Let's say somewhere here c4, knight f6, knight c3, white did not lose any tempo, and after bishop e6, bishop g5, we have some ideas with queen a5 and preparing the place for the rook. So I assume here, when Levy looked at this position, he wanted to make a use of the queen on c7 and the fact that black was tempo up, and decided to transpose to the position that he knew already, with the idea if white does something, the black already has the rook coming to d8. Bishop a3. Bishop a3 is a very passive move. Like, definitely Magnus is chilling. He's not going for the most, aggressive approaches. Rook d8. Another, I think, principal line would have been to take on c4, and after d5, rook d8. There is some completely crazy queen sacrifice a la Botha's gambit, which Levy definitely should not go to if he is not ready to face some, concrete lines. Probably the best here would be knight s6, and after bishop c4, believe it or not, but the position is totally equal. It didn't happen in the game. Levy played rook d8, knight g5. Knight g5 attacking the bishop. Now, bishop should definitely move, otherwise if knight takes on e6 and pawn takes, it's going to be a very disgusting pawn chain here, and the king is going to be weak and open by the light squares. So bishop g4, f3, bishop h5. Only move to defend the f7. Why? Because after c takes d5, knight takes d5, knight takes d5, rook takes d5, bishop c4, the rook is attacked, and if rook goes back, rook d8, which happened in the game, there is f7. So now very important that the bishop is protecting f7. Interesting fact, after short castle, the position is equal. Now, when I was looking at this position before the ancient, I was like, no way, Levy is in trouble. Because what do? Black has the king in the center. How do you get the king back? After c4, black had two pieces developed while white had only one piece developed. But now, when we look at the position after short castle, which is move number 14, black is the one who is behind the development, and this is very important. e6 would have been the most logical move, but Levy did not play it, and I guess his worry was bishop e6. And after pawn takes e6, knight e6 is completely winning for white. Well, surprise, surprise, we do not play checkers here, we play chess. Black doesn't have to capture back. There is this very beautiful intermediate, how do you say in English, intermezzo? h6 move, it's so beautiful, oh my gosh. Knight has to go back, and then we take the bishop, and black is winning. Well, might have been too complicated for 23-22. International master, future grandmaster, yeah. Yes, so the move that Levy played was h6, attacking the knight, and obviously expecting knight e4, and after knight e4, e6. But here Magnus, instantly goes with this knight h3, very savage approach, very weird at the same time, pointing in f4 and trying, once again to destroy the king's pawn structure. Here, black finds the only move, g5. both preparing development, controlling the f4 square, and, caging the knight. Remember the knight on the Remus Dim? Exactly. d5, the most principal approach. Bishop g7. Knight is not attacked yet because there is a queen. Very beautiful trick here. If that white goes queen a4 trying to win the knight, there is this only move, queen a5, and now white doesn't have enough time to take the knight because the queen needs to be captured, and if queen takes, then we save the knight. And this is not a problem because if even b4 there is, boom, rook d5, and we're safe here. Queen c5 is a tricky idea because we want to win the queen, right, if the knight goes away. So they only move knight d4. This was all planned, I assume, by Levy. Knight d4, bishop b5, knight takes b5, and then the queen is protected by the knight, you can see so. And if bishop takes first, then bishop takes and check, and then we castle and no danger for the queen. Rook d1, queen b6, protecting the knight, only move. a4 immediately goes white, trying to attack the queen. And now, once again, the only move is e5. D takes e6, which happened in the game. Here, black at first had this, I assume, very important hope to play for the trick knight f3. And if pawn takes f3, then rook d1 check, queen d1, and queen e3, winning the game on the spot. And even if, let's say, white goes with king f2, then there is always like take and check. Unfortunately, here for black, it doesn't work because white has this beautiful king h1, and now black is the one who loses after rook d1, queen e3, boom, boom, queen d7 check, king f8, and queen d8 checkmate. Yeah, luckily Levy calculated all that till the end and didn't happen in the game. So the most logical, f takes e6, knight f2, short castle. Yes, finally we castled. Finally black castled. I was so relieved here watching Levy from the side, from the computer screen, when I realized that he finally put his king on the, safer place. I mean, Levy has definitely mastered chess with some Russian coaches. So yeah, Russian school of chess always develop your pieces. Rook a3. King h8, just to avoid any checks. King h1. Here, believe it or not, Magnus was so stressed and so down on time that he offered Levy a draw. But Levy, as a true fighter, declined and gave Magnus a lesson. Queen c6. Bishop d3. Here, white blundered a very nice tactic, but black did not find it. Bishop takes f3, g takes f3, queen f3 check, king g1, sacrificing the bishop for 2 pawns and continuing to attack. Although you do need to find how to continue, and the continuation is to prepare the place f3 for the knight. Queen h5, boom. Genius move. Unfortunately, neither of the parts saw this, and it's understandable. And even after h3, it's not that easy, because the best move here is not an h3 because it doesn't give anything, because h3 pawn is protected, but back, queen f3, and then queen g3, and then knight h3. It's not easy, especially when you're in a time trouble. So black continued with the most logical queen c1, and here bishop c1, again a mistake by white, and again tactic that black once again did not find. Well, those blitz games in a pool from anonymous accounts on chess.com, you cannot calculate all the lines, can you? So black goes with rook c8. Instead, they should have played knight f3, g takes f3, bishop takes f3, double attack, and then when king goes g1, bishop takes d1, knight takes d1, and rook f3. Super beautiful idea. And even after bishop e2, rook takes a3, b takes a3. And what's interesting here, that normally you would say, okay, 2 pieces for a rook is more than enough. It's white advantage, white even winning. But here we got 3 pawns. I mean, technically it's going to be 3 pawns because the rook comes and takes the other pawn. So yeah, actually completely winning for black. Interesting line. Unfortunately, they didn't have enough courage or time to understand. So black continued with a logical rook c1, pointing the bishop. And bishop goes away. There is boom boom on b2 one day. Bishop e4, b6. Well, the pawn was attacked, so we move it. Rook c3. We have to say that here both parties were in a time trouble. Rook takes c3, b takes c3, and knight e2. A very nice move, attacking both the bishop and the pawn and saying, either you give me a pawn or I'm taking a pair of bishops. You decide which is worse. And surprisingly, white should have given the pawn, because after c4, knight takes c1, rook takes c1, and bishop d4. This brilliant, once again, another brilliant move by black, by Levy Rosman, and yet supernatural. I could see Levy doing this move with his eyes closed. It's just a natural instinct. You control the whole position. It's an outpost, and you push the pawn, and then it's an endgame to bishop's advantage. Knight d3, rook c8, pointing the weakness. h4, trying to, shake the position, also like save the king, but yet goes bishop e8, very savage, just going for the pawn. a5, b takes a5, and after b takes a5, it's completely winning because there is just a pawn pushing. So I'm just gonna show you how the game continued. c5, a4, c6, a3. Here's a beautiful tactic, by the way. If rook goes to c4, black can just push a3, and after rook takes the bishop, a2, and there is absolutely no way to stop the pawn, because if rook a4, then bishop controls this diagonal. So c6 logical, a3, rook c2, stopping the promotion square, and here honestly black rushed a little bit. I guess the easiest and probably the most savage would have been just to take the pawn and say like, okay, I don't care about c7 because I can just push a5, control for the knight square, and if you decide to lure my rook with the bishop, then I just say, okay, take it. I don't need it. I don't need a rook here. Rook takes, and then a2, and rook has to go back, rook c1, and now after a1, rook takes a1, bishop takes a1, completely winning endgame for black. Well, honestly, maybe I shouldn't be so harsh on Levy. He decided to go to the most direct approach, and I can understand him. I could see him being so stressed and so worried. I mean, it's not like every day you beat Magnus Carlsen. Even if Levy already did it once, but still, Levy decided to go for a direct simplification. Bishop takes c6, bishop takes c6, sacrificing the bishop now, sacrificing the rook, rook takes c6, as if we already saw some sacrifices of rooks and bishops by Levy in games with Magnus before. Rook takes a6, a2, rook a6, a1, queen, rook takes a1, bishop takes a1, and this endgame is completely winning. H takes g5, h takes g5, king c5, trying to, complicate things a little bit. Probably already winning even just simply to push the pawn, but black wanted to play solid, e5, knight e4, a5. Now we don't care about the pawn because we have enough time to bring the king in the meantime and push the pawn to the promotion square and win the knight. a4, knight e4, a3, knight d2, a2, knight b3, trying to sacrifice the knight for the pawn, bishop d4. And here, well, I do have to tell you that the only way white could make a draw here would be by changing the last pawn. But unfortunately, it's not possible to do so. g3, king g7. By the way, very nice idea, bishop d4 here. I didn't mention that it's also restraining the king, so white has to lose like kind of a move to bring the king. So king f6, king f1. Finally, we grab the knight. It was not the only way. There was another like super complicated way to somewhere to sacrifice the pawn and bring the king and take the knight and then win it as well. But it was more, let's say, irresponsible. King f1, a1, queen. Knight takes a1, bishop takes a1. And here I have to show you a very smart thing how black could fall into a trap. After king e2, if black moves recklessly, king f5, then it's immediate draw after f4. You would say, but I have e4. I didn't trade the pawn. But here comes king e3. And the next g4, no way to stop it and trading the last pawn. And unfortunately, the bishop is so badly placed that he cannot check from, let's say, b0. And yeah, the pawn is falling. Luckily, Levy saw this trick and he, well, first of all, white didn't try the moment. They went for king g2, but even if had white play king e2, then black would answer with king e6, I assume. I mean, I don't know. We should have watched that. King g2, king f5, king h3, and here I'll just show you how the game finished. Bishop c3. Black needed to be a little bit accurate still, but I mean, any winning game of chess is not won until you haven't signed the score sheet. Bishop d2, king h3, bishop e1, king h4. By the way, attaching the king to the pawn. King e6, king g4. Very funny and very smart. Bishop f2 here saying you cannot advance with your king. If I go on d5, you have to go back. And now king d5, king h3, king d4, g4, last attempt. Here, one last trick that black could have fallen. Let's say if black plays bishop g5, king h4, and here black goes king d5, trying to stop the pawn, then there is immediate draw after king h5, king e6, and king g6. Brilliant move, and now no way for black to improve here. Luckily, black saw it, so they play king d5, h4, king a6, king g3, bishop e3. And now very important is that whenever king comes to g6, the pawn has to be on the black square. If the pawn is on the black square, then white is gonna lose it. So the game continued after g6. Let me show you like something would have been like king h5. Here would play king f5, g3, and king f6, and zugzwang, and the pawn is lost. So white continued with g6, king f6, g7 takes, king f4. Last trick. Had black played bishop d4, then there would be pawn f4 and the draw trading the last pawn, but no, black was better than that. Bishop f4. And that moment was when Magnus resigned. Levy just beat Magnus Carlsen again in a very fascinating manner. Congratulations. A very crazy thing, totally insane, believe it or not, but yesterday in some open tournament in Iceland, in Reykjavik, there was the exact same game played by Grandmaster Erdos Viktor from Hungary, rated 2587, and Women's Grandmaster Dina Belenkaya in 2300 rating slot. Yeah, they reached the exact same position up to move 65.
Dina captures the pawn, and now one move to win. Only move to win, bishop f4. And he resigns. Weak ass handshake from Dina, but pretty fabulous gameplay.
Wow, what can I say? Chess is a fascinating game. It is frustrating though to see two similar games, but yeah, it is what it is. Now get out of here.